All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, however you are consuming this show. I greatly appreciate you. Big shout out to our sponsors, Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, Imperial Pizza, 1035 Abbott Road, also second location on Main Street near Canisius College. Make sure you guys are getting out there and supporting two of the very best eateries, places to go eat, drink, and hang out in all of Western New York. Sunny Reds and Imperial Pizza. Thursday podcast, got a lot to get to. We are actually streaming on the video side here live. The Buffalo Sabres just finished their last home preseason game. Actually, a lot to talk about coming out of this game. Plenty of Buffalo Bills stuff. What is going on with Greg Rousseau so far this season? Some players coming back from injury. Like I said, lots of stuff to get to. And I'm joined right now for a second straight week by, I guess I could call him a recurring guest at this point, broadcaster, my guy, Steve Bermel, man. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's going on, Pat? Hey, I like the studio design. We got some new graphics opening up, the new song, our names underneath. You got some new font going on. It feels
big
super
time
fancy. Glad to be back, and like twice in a week. This is crazy, but the other part of it, you caught me in a very good mood, and I am telling you, my mood would have 100% hinged on what happened in the ninth inning of that Yankees game, but you got me in a great mood because they beat the fucking Sox and pushed it to 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, 4-3 Yankees win. I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't say that. I'd also be remiss if I didn't come clean with you and everybody else. I said this, and I'm not going to get in this long diatribe, but for everybody who's catching us right at the top, first of all, thank you. If you're watching on the video side, you're popping in the live chat. Feel free to comment, leave a question. We will definitely get to those. But for the people on the podcast side, I don't want to bore you with life stories of mine. But I will say this real quick, Steve. Baseball and the New York Yankees quite literally were my first love. Like as a little kid, well, wrestling too. WWF wrestling, but that's entertainment, not really a sport. In terms of real sports, I was a Yankees fan before I was a fan of anything else. And that includes the Buffalo Bills. Like the Yankees were my legit first love. My parents are from New York City. I was actually born about 4 or 5 blocks from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, quickly moved up to Buffalo. But my family, my father's side, especially, they were all in New York City and in the Bronx. Anyway, grew up a big Yankees fan. I remember the late 70s, I could run off the lineup up and down. I probably still could do it right now if I really thought about it. Just, again, in a lifelong baseball fan. I really was. Until the last couple of years. The last couple of years, as this podcast started to go daily and, just having a family in real life and a full-time job, something had to get sacrificed. My time, I just couldn't do everything anymore. Baseball ended up becoming kind of that sacrificial lamb for me. I just didn't have the time to put in the detail. Like, I've been in the same fantasy baseball league for 16, 17 years with a bunch of buddies of mine, and I used to be really good. And if I am good now, it's just because I'm lucky. You know what I mean? But I used to team after team around the league. I just lost that. Anyway, I kind of feel like I bottomed out tonight because I found myself primarily watching a fucking Buffalo Sabres preseason hockey game over Yankees Red Sox game 2 of a 3-game playoff series. I am embarrassed about that, but I'm dedicated to the craft, dude, because we are covering the Sabres. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But yeah, Yankee fans, especially guys like you who live and die with it, what a roller coaster has been these past 24 hours or so, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm an OG. Well, not OG. I've listened to the podcast long enough, Pat, to remember the intro talking Bills, Sabres, Yankees, and all things pop culture or whatever it was. Like I
80s music.
Yeah, I remember that was part of the intro. But yeah, I went out to. I won't say where because they're not one of the sponsors. I went out somewhere.
You can. We're not that kind of show.
Went out to Santora's last night with my best friend. Watched the game. Of course, they were winning the whole time and then choked it away. And We don't need to belabor the Yankees. I know everybody in the chat's excited to talk about the Bills. We've gotten like 4 Go Bills and one person talking about the Yankees, but I love them. My wife doesn't like watching baseball on TV. She loves watching it in person, but I just on my iPad, put it on the chair next to me, and then whatever we're watching on TV, I probably watch about 100 Yankees games a year. Tonight, listen, the Yankees had the TV tonight. I was watching the Sabres game. When you messaged me and said, hey, do you want to come on after the Sabres game? I'm like, yeah, I'll watch the Sabres game on my iPad, but the Yankees got the 72-inch TV tonight because I was excited for that. But, yeah, I watched the Sabres game, and listen, you send over notes, if people want to look behind the curtain, and what you sent over to talk about today, especially stuff. I'm like, this is good. Like, I'm fired up to talk about this. You do a good job planning shows, especially having to do it every day. Whereas Joe, I'm pandering to you right now, but I'm excited to cover what we're going to cover with the Bills, and then of course the Yankees and Sabres are also exciting. But yeah, I'm super excited that the Yankees won. If they would have lost, Pat, I might have been miserable. So
yeah, you probably would have been. And that's the difference between it would have ate me alive not all that long ago, and now I'd be like, that sucks. But it's not like I'm not paying any attention. Well, I haven't been paying any attention for 150 games. I will admit that. I mean, I'll take a peek at the standings or stuff like that, but I know Aaron Judge had a great year. Some guys have MVP caliber seasons. I'm like, really? Wow. But anyway, game 1, I know on Tuesday, because I did watch most of the game with a very good friend of mine and also a fellow diehard Yankee fan, and he was livid that Chisholm and Rice, neither of those guys played game 1. And then you get to game 2 here on Wednesday, and Chisholm scores a game-winning run on a Wells single. Rice hits a home run in the first inning, and you're like, you're going to use a little bit of that yesterday, too. It's easy to second-guess. I don't care if it's baseball, football, hockey, whatever. When you're the coach, the manager, and things, they don't go your way, you're going to get second-guessed. But with somebody like Aaron Boone, it kind of seems like that's just the annual rite of passage. Kind of like with Sean McDermott in a way. Is Aaron Boone the Sean McDermott of Major League Baseball?
No. Boone makes it easy to be criticized. I don't think McDermott does. McDermott is not. I have a buddy that calls him Captain Conservative. I'm like, McDermott goes for it on 4th down at the top of the league. Like, this is a good segue to the Bills. Like, McDermott is super aggressive. Early in his career, he wasn't, but now it feels like he knows the weapons that he has, and like, situationally, like I don't remember the last time I felt like the Bills punted a game away. Do you, Pat? Like, how many times when the Bills played a team, when the Ravens punted week 1, you're like, they just fucking punted the game away. And then they ultimately did punt the game away. I don't ever remember the last time that the Bills punted a game away. I don't ever remember a time that the Bills, clock management, sure, you might be able to criticize that, but he's pretty aggressive. Boone just makes it easy. Like, he overthinks things or follows. You have the New York fucking Yankees. And like, I remember last season, like game 2, he rested Aaron Judge. I'm like, what are you doing? Judge could play 155 of the 162 games, and they rested him in like the second game of the second series of the year or whatever it was. I don't think McDermott gets in his own way too much with that. I think with challenges, timeouts, and clock management sometimes, but I remember my buddy's a Giants fan, and I'm like, the number of times that the Giants punt from the plus side of the field, and I'm like, the Bills just don't do that. It's not in their repertoire to punt from the plus side. And I don't think that's a fair comparison between Boone and McDermott, because Boone is taking an absolutely great team, and I think they win in spite of him. I think McDermott gets a lot out of these guys, and going back to week 1, like we talked about, he deserves credit because those guys never quit. As Baltimore is up 20 plus points in the fourth quarter, the whole team was still believing that they could win, and then ultimately did. And I think that's a credit to McDermott.
Okay, that's fair. Chat regular on the live videos, Mark Arliso said, fuck the Yankees, they should win with that payroll.
That's a tired argument,
go watch.
man.
Have you seen the Dodgers payroll? I mean, it's not like it used to be so much anymore. It's not the Yankees buying or trying to buy championships. I mean, they do spend money, don't get me wrong, but they're not the only team that does that. So come on, Mike, be better. Be better than that. All right, so let me set this up. Back half, I definitely want to talk some Buffalo Sabres. Again, the Sabres did have their preseason home finale on Wednesday, and this turned out to be anyway an eventful night of hockey for the Sabres for good and bad reasons. Josh Norris had a really good game. Rasmus Dahlin wowed the crowd and everybody who was watching. However, UPL got hurt. Michael Kesselring, as we're recording this, did not play in the third period. Left very late in the second, didn't return. the Sabres already are a mass unit as it is right now at defense. That could be significant. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about this goalie who I refuse to even try to learn how to pronounce his name correctly. He stinks, man. But anyway, that's my opinion, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Buffalo Bills stuff, okay? Here's where I want to start. I did a show a couple days ago, as I do every game. So when the Bills play, if you're a regular to the show, you'll know this. I do a live instant reaction show, usually with Joe from Queens. And those are kind of, the game just ended, or it ended that day, you haven't watched it back, kind of in the moment, what do you remember from the game? What were your emotions during the game? Key plays, things of that nature. The next day, I do a biggest takeaway show. That's after sleeping on it to kind of remove some of the in-the-moment emotion. And more importantly, I spend at least 3 to 5 hours minimum on Mondays on company time, by the way. Don't tell my boss that. But watching all 22 film. And I look for many things. I go back to touchdown plays or big plays, and I look and see who did their job or who didn't do their job. Then I start targeting random players and did this guy play as good as I thought he did? Did he play worse? Just from this past game, I was kind of critical in the moment of Cole Bishop. I didn't give him enough credit for that interception. That was a great fucking interception that he made. He came all the way from the right hash mark. I'm not going to go into every little detail of what I'm talking about, but that's just an example. Sometimes guys, you don't give them credit, and then you go back and you watch the film oh, this guy played better than I thought he did. DaQuan Jones is another one. I kind of hammered DaQuan Jones on Sunday Night Live and watched the game back, and I'm he was fine. Then there's guys who, you confirm that they played really good or really bad. Then there's the other way around. It's man, I thought this guy played a lot better. Then I look at the film, I'm not really. You know what I mean? Deion Walker, I'll give you a perfect example real quick. Deion Walker had 2 great splash plays and good moments, and I love him, and he is the future of this position for the Bills. But he also had a lot of inconsistent stuff, too, on tape. But anyway, here was what I was getting at. Watched every single play. And at the end, I tweeted about this a day later. I'm where's Greg Rousseau? Where's Greg Rousseau? And I'll turn this over to you for some thoughts, and then I'll throw some numbers at you. But I'm just not seeing much from Greg Rousseau beyond the fact that he's decent against the run. That's pretty much it. He doesn't get caught out of position much. When he has an opportunity to make the tackle, he doesn't miss much. This is about the most that I can come up with right now. We're a month into the season with Greg Rousseau, and I'm not one of those, Brandon Beane should never been a guy, 4 games in, let's relax a little bit and chill with that. It's literally just October 1st as we record this, Steve. But, he did sign a 4-year, $80 million contract. Your boy's getting $20 million a year he should be more than just a guy who's playing okay out there and pretty surefire tackler, and he stays at home, stuff like that. It's, I don't know. Let me ask you this. Have you thought much about Greg Rousseau? Has he stuck out to you in a bad way? Or are there so many other storylines going on with this team right now that even though he's a high-profile player who's getting paid a lot of money, that maybe what he's doing or not doing is just flying under the radar with you? What's been your mindset with Greg Rousseau right now?
So when you ask me if I've thought about him, I haven't. And that's a problem. You want an edge rusher at less than $20 million a year to be disruptive. What plays is Greg Rousseau disrupting? At what point is he even in the backfield with his hands up? I think about the interception he had in Mahomes when the Bills finally slayed the dragon to beat Kansas City in the regular season all those years ago. Didn't his girlfriend or wife make him a cake of him intercepting that ball? She made a cake of with him on top making that play. And it's even in situations where I don't love AJ Epinesa. I think for, what was he, a 2nd-round pick? He's not a big enough impact player. He disrupted the game a couple times on Sunday. Even if he doesn't get home, you see, 57's in the backfield, and he forced something negative to happen, or he forced Rattler to break out or whatever. Obviously, Bosa has been disruptive. He's forced a few fumbles. Even you're saying, Deion Walker.
Four fumbles forced already.
Yes. And like Deion Walker, I didn't watch the film like you said, but he's being disruptive. There's times he's in the backfield and he's fucking up the offense enough to be a disruption. And I just don't see Rousseau doing that. And for $20 million a year, now it's funny because when Star Lotulelei was here and everybody was mad at him because he was getting paid all that money, you could see him eating up blocks, but that was his job. His job was to clog the middle. Rousseau's job is not to set an edge and tackle a running back. Rousseau's job is to use those 8-foot-long arms and grab a quarterback and sling him to the ground. And the pass rush continues to be disappointing. And I was, of course, listening when Joe from Queens was on, and he was talking about the Bills' defense or the pass rush or whatever. And I think you guys were specifically talking about the pass rush, and he mentioned that, well, Rattler only threw for 120-something yards. How many times did Rattler get to escape and take off for 20 yards? That's on the pass rush, dude. They got to get home. You can't get in the backfield just enough to let Rattler step up in the pocket and take off for 10 yards like it keeps happening on third and 20. Lamar did it. And to me, that is on the pass rush. Just because Rattler only threw for 110 yards, he ran for, 50 or 60 more. And that, to me, is on these pass rushers not getting home. And if it's a pass rusher not getting home, Rousseau's got to be at the top of the list of the guy you're upset with. For $20 million, for the build that he has, for the size that he is, and for his career to this point, how he's gotten to that $20 million is because he was in the backfield getting hands on the quarterback. And it's not happening. And guess what? They're still winning games. And this is where we have to say we're not being negative. We have to kind of put a disclaimer on it. But two things can be true at once. He could be playing pretty bad for what he's expected to do, or we're wrong, and he's doing exactly what the coaching staff is asking him to do, which I doubt. I saw the comment, Pat, rumors that he's playing hurt. I don't know. If that's the case, then why is he playing at all? Then let him rest.
Why is he not on the injury report ever?
Right.
I mean,
let him rest against the Saints and let Landon Jackson play. Like, what are we doing?
He's got bumps and bruises. So does everybody. Again, he's literally not even a limited participant in practice on the injury report. He's never on the injury report. So
and you
I don't
have
buy
to
that.
Report it. You have to. Like, if they know someone's dinged up and you're not putting him as questionable, you get fined by the league. It has
so the fans on Twitter know that Greg Rousseau's hurt, but Sean McDermott doesn't. Is that what we're saying right now? Look, let me unpack the Saints thing, too, real quick. Spencer Rattler only due for 110 yards. You know why? Because Spencer Rattler sucks. That's why, because he can't throw the football. No, seriously. I mean, Brandon Cook wide open in the end zone, splits the safeties, bad throw. I mean, he made a couple plays, but he also had some really bad throws. So let's keep that in perspective. He got sacked 3 times. 2 of those 3 sacks were on the final drive, like in the last 2 minutes when the game was literally over. So, again, I'm not going to give the Bills pass rush credit for that. My issue with Greg Rousseau, if you guys can remember this, we'll go back to the AFC title game last year against the Kansas City Chiefs. That team, man, I hate to relive that game because, sure, Kincaid makes that catch. If the Bills make 1 or 2 more plays on offense, sure, they go to the Super Bowl. If the defense makes 1 or 2 more plays, you could say the same thing. And on a day where Christian Benford had gotten hurt and you were just begging for somebody to make a play. And I remember the one guy on the Bills defense who's a quote-unquote star player who showed up, it was Ed Oliver. Mm-hmm. Ed Oliver exercised his demons of falling on his face in elimination games the year before that. Ed Oliver was a beast in that game. And Greg Rousseau, I remember calling it out then, and for weeks after, he was awful in that game. That said, you could say so were 9 other guys on defense too, so I get that. We go to the offseason. You don't want him going into a contract year, or at least that was the sentiment anyway. You get it done. We all feel pretty good about it. $20 million a year didn't seem like that much in April. It feels like a lot of money, though, right now as we speak. I looked it up. So he's played 142 snaps. He's playing 64.3% of the snaps so far for the Bills. He's got 8 tackles on the season, 7 run stops, 74 pass rush snaps. He's got a half a sack this year, 8 pressures and a half a sack in 4 games of work. His quarterback pressure rate per ESPN Next Gen Stats is 10.8%. By comparison, Joey Bosa, nearly double that, 18.3%. Then you turn at PFF, which I just canceled my PFF premium subscription this week. I'm telling you, man, it's got some use. The advanced stats can be pretty cool. The grades are just ridiculous. PFF's got him as an 83 overall, which is 17th, Steve, out of 127 eligible edge rushers. Eligible means they've played at least 20% of their team snaps. He's 17th overall. He's 6th against the run, which I'll kind of sort of buy that. Again, I'll buy that. Yep. And his 68.8% pressure grade is 48th, so about middle of the pack. His PFF pass rush productivity which isn't really a grade. It's a formula 6.8, which is middle of the pack. 55 out of 116. Bosa is almost double that. AJ Epinesa is literally double that. AJ Epinesa has the highest pass rush productivity on this team. Here's the final stat that I'll throw at you. 4 games in, forget about the sacks, the pressures. How many tackles for a loss does Greg Rousseau have on the season? 0.
Oh.
0. He doesn't even have a tackle for a loss this season. I want to pull up a comment, too, then I'll turn it back to you. JJ94 said, I am sick and tired of hearing about Groot doing the little things and getting pressures. The defense is struggling and needs a hero. We need impact plays. I think that's a great point. I really do. I mean, there's nothing fancy about what JJ94 just said, but that's what, and it doesn't matter yet. They're 4-0, but he's just been another guy. He's a jag right now, isn't it? That's what it comes down to. He's Jerry Hughes in a way, but Jerry Hughes was a really good all-around player. He just never actually got the quarterback to the ground. Greg Rousseau's not even doing that. Greg Rousseau's not even Jerry Hughes right now through the month of this season.
When we talked before the season about our concerns in the secondary, we weren't sure about the safeties. We didn't know what was going on with Trey White, Max Hairston, Dorian Strong. We said, well, it's okay, because with all of the moves they've made, drafting and signing free agents, the pass rush is going to be what can steady the ship. If you're getting good pass rush, your secondary is not going to get exposed as much as they would if you're not getting good pass rush. They're not getting good pass rush. And, it's not coming from up the middle, especially with Oliver out. Who knows what will be different with these 3 games if Oliver's playing. But, part of me says if Oliver's playing, maybe the edges have some more luck because the guards have to work more to the middle. They can't really help on the outside. I don't watch all the plays the way you do to see it. But in the same regard to what that comment was by JJ94, Rousseau shouldn't need a defensive tackle eating up blocks. Rousseau shouldn't need anyone else on the line. Rousseau, for the talent that we've seen him play with, he should be able to be a game wrecker on his own. He should be the reason that Ed Oliver gets more pressure. He should be the reason that the guy on the other side, whether that's Joey Bosa or Epinesa or Landon Jackson, who hasn't played yet, or TJ Sanders up the middle, or take your pick, he should be drawing enough attention that it should make other guys get home more often. It's clearly not happening. And Pat, I don't know if you've seen how often Rousseau's double teamed or they bring in a tight end to chip him. I don't know, but I don't think they've had to. If you're saying he has no tackles for a loss, I didn't know that stat. I would have guessed. You said he had 7 run stops. Probably 2 of those were in the backfield. If it's 0 tackles for a loss, I don't know. I'm literally stumped as to, and it's not like other guys are feasting. It's not like we could say, well, you know what? It's just not Rousseau's turn yet. Other guys have been getting home and getting the quarterback down to the ground, and he's got 3 half sacks because he's been in the backfield while, Bosa or Epinesa was bringing the quarterback down. He's a ghost. And the biggest thing, Pat, you asked me if I've been thinking about Rousseau, and I haven't, and that's a problem.
Yeah. Listen, Joey Bosa, all right, so let me say this too. Joey Bosa on tape last week, we talked about it, we showed it earlier in the week. I'm not going to do it again, but not 1, not 2, but 3 times. Caught out of position, caught inside, and whiffed on a tackle real bad. He just looked foolish. But you know what Joey Bosa does all season long so far anyway? He makes up for it. He has a sack. He's got 4 forced fumbles this year and 2 sacks already. I mean, he's making impactful plays. Now, on the other side, Greg Rousseau, is he your Phil Hansen? Basically, Joey Bosa's Bruce Smith, and Greg Rousseau's supposed to be Phil Hansen, just solid, steady, unspectacular, get a big play, a sack here and there, but you're not the playmaker. Bruce Smith's the playmaker. Joey Bosa's the playmaker. I'd be okay with that if Greg Rousseau, again, was getting $6, $7, $8, $9 million. Greg Rousseau's getting $20 million. Ralph Wilson Sr., I want to point this up because he's right about this in the live chat. He said Groot was the reason Olave had to throw the lollipop in the air over Groot's raised arms for Bishop to get there. I'll give you that. I'll also go back to the Miami game. Bosa got caught, pinched inside. Greg Rousseau on tape hunts Tua down, makes him force him outside and throw the ball away. I'm not saying Greg Rousseau's done nothing Let me read the tweet that I wrote a couple days ago. It's kind of got this whole thing kickstarted. I said, I watched every snap Greg Rousseau was playing on the All-22 the past 2 weeks, and while I'll stop short of saying Greg Rousseau's playing bad, he's not looking anything even in the ballpark of the impact player he's supposed to be. One that got a $20 million per year extension this offseason. I guess where I arrive at, Stephen, I mean, we're kind of spinning in circles here because we agree, but Trey White, I would expect, if Trey White plays well, good, I'm sort of surprised, you know? The standard for Greg Rousseau shouldn't be somebody in the live chat comments having to talk about how he raised his arms and make a wide receiver on a double reverse, throw the ball over his head, or that he hunted down, slow-ass Tua or whatever and forced him out of the pocket. I want to see strip sack fumbles, knocking a big pass down, intercepting a play, tackles for a loss, a big 3rd and 3 stop so the team can get off the field. I don't think, we say we criticize or we nitpick too much when a team's 4-0. I think this is one of the few cases on this team where you could actually say this is legitimate, warranted criticism right now with Greg Rousseau.
It's interesting because we keep talking about $20 million. And when I think about, like, Lorenzo Alexander was the last Bill with double-digit sacks. I don't know what he was making. It was probably nothing like that. He was probably paid more like a role player. And then Leonard Floyd, right? Didn't he come in on like a $9 million deal? Leonard Floyd was like 1 year. I think it was sub 10 million. They just kind of brought him in.
It was sub 10 million. It was about 8 million or something like that.
That dude had, he was leading the team in sacks, and then the playoffs came and he disappeared. But he was, making the impactful plays. And these are guys that are just kind of brought in. Lorenzo Alexander was at the end of his career. So was Leonard Floyd, more at the sunset than the sunrise of his career. And you bring in someone like that just kind of as a similar to Joey Bosa. You just bring him in on a 1-year prove it deal or a 1 year, hey, let's see what we get out of this guy. And they're making a bigger splash than Rousseau right now. And whatever it is, hopefully he figures it out. And we, if he does figure it out, we know he can absolutely wreck a game because we've seen him do it. And we just haven't seen him. I haven't even seen him wreck a play. I guess that's the best way I could sum it up. The guy hasn't wrecked a play. Okay. The Saints wrecked themselves on that Philly special. Like, come on, you're running the ball for 7 yards of carry and you decide to have Chris Olave try to throw a touchdown pass to Spencer Rattler. Like, that was them shooting themselves in the foot. If you want to give him a check in the box that he blew up that play, fine. But if we're talking about one play over the course of 4 games that he's kind of destroyed, I think it's got to be more than that, for what we expect from him and what he's capable of.
And listen, maybe it's just who he is. I mean, he's not putting up any numbers right now, and this is his 5th year, and he's never had double-digit sacks. So maybe the contract, and typically, Steve, I'm the kind of dude who says, well, I don't give a shit. It ain't my money. Right. I don't care what you pay him. I'm not paying him. It ain't my money. I don't give a shit. But, when you see the contract, that's Brandon Beane saying, you know what? I expect him to take the next step as an edge rusher. This is a league. You watch the Super Bowl when Philadelphia tormented Patrick Mahomes, that pass rush. They tormented him in that Super Bowl. Greg Rousseau could be a part of that. You know what I mean? That's our vision. We're going to go get 2 rookie defensive tackles. We're going to get Joey Bosa. We're getting all this help. Michael Hoyt will be back soon. Greg Rousseau's going to get the matchups he wants. He doesn't have to get stuck playing on one side because Von Miller's not there anymore. And I looked it up. He's playing like 60% on the left and 40% on the right, or one way or the other. But I looked that up too. So no more excuses, man. This is his 5th year, and he's well on his way to not getting double-digit sacks again. Let me ask you this before we go to break. Because I did this exercise. You don't have to come up with 3, but we're 4 games in. And by the way, I almost feel a little dirty, Steve. I almost feel a little bit dirty because this is a 4-0 football team with a big matchup, which, by the way, tomorrow's show is all Bills New England's preview bowl predictions. But it's like, we talk negative about a team that is 4-0. They're the only undefeated team in the goddamn AFC. It almost makes me feel like I got to take a shower once we're done with this show. Let me ask you this. Give me 1 guy, 2 guy, 3, up to 3 or whatever, but that you feel better about right now. We're a month in, so you've watched 4 games. Who do you feel better about right now than you did if you and I were having a podcast 2 days before the season started? Conversely, give me a guy or 2 or whatever that you're down on compared to, and spoiler alert, Greg Rousseau is on my down column, of course. Yeah. But, give me a guy or 2 that you're more down on now. And that's not necessarily out on, but down on than you would have been before the season started in week 1.
All right, the three pluses. Number one is James Cook. You can say that's crazy. The dude is playing better than I even thought he would.
Okay.
I was more in the camp of don't pay the running back. My wife and I would argue about this, and now every time he makes a play, she shoves it in my face. To be clear, I'm not upset that they paid him $12 million a year. I was more nervous about 15. Once again, not my money, but I'm in the camp of don't pay running backs. They're generally not worth it. That
Yeah.
dude has been worth every penny of what the extension was. So James Cook's number one for the positive. The second, Joey Bosa. We didn't even know if he was going to be healthy, Pat. There was talks before the year of him having this injury, and everyone was nervous and gulping that this dude was going to be out for some extended period of time. The guy is healthy and making an impact, and I think that is the main reason why Bosa would make this list, because preseason, we didn't even know if he was going to be playing. Lastly, Jackson Hawes. Little did I know that a guy who gets drafted as a blocking tight end is going to come in and be an upgraded Alec Anderson. Not shitting on Alec Anderson at all. That dude, the Bills playing jumbo with the big tight end, bringing Alec Anderson in, was a trendsetter in the league. Like, the Bills ran it more than any other team with that jumbo offensive lineman, the whatever you want to call it, jumbo tight end package. The Bills were kind of trendsetters, and they looked at that and said, okay, how can we make that better? And it's kind of bad news for Alec Anderson, because now they've got essentially a lineman to come in and play, but Allen likes throwing to him, and this dude's making impact plays. Like, I wouldn't even have known that Jackson Hawes' name would be called 3 times all year. And I think I told you, I didn't think he would have 3 catches all year. Now he's got, 4 in 4 games or whatever it is. So those 3 would be the up. The down, I'm going to leave Rousseau off because, whatever. Down, TJ Sanders. He's getting outplayed by Deion Walker. It's another higher draft pick getting outplayed by by someone that was drafted later than him. And I guess if one draft pick works out, like Benford over Elam, it still kind of works out. If I would have told you the Bills were going to get a number 1 cornerback out of that draft, whether it was Elam or Bernard or Benford, you would be like, okay, you would assume it was going to be Elam, but it wasn't. But Taylor Rapp, what happened to playmaking Taylor Rapp? Like, the biggest hit he's thrown has been on his own teammate when he almost broke Benford's ribs. Like, I don't even know that he's playing bad. I just remember Rapp being kind of making splash plays. We'd see him do some things and whatever. And maybe the last one that there's a couple other candidates that I have, but Landon Jackson comes to mind. How has he not cracked the roster yet? I understand he hasn't played yet, but that could be part of the reason why I'm more down on him than I would have been, or down on him from where I would have been at the beginning of the year, because I thought we would have at least seen him crack the lineup once by now and make some plays. And this is not boding well, I don't think, for his future if he hasn't even made cracked the lineup yet. So, try not to take too much time up on that, but those are the 3 I thought of.
No, those are all good ones, man. And I'll tell you, the Jackson Hawes one that you said, I really didn't think of that, and you're right. And it really gets me thinking. I'm like, he has kind of taken roles away from 2 players to some extent on this team. Number 1 is Alec Anderson, and you talked about that. And I'll tell you what, man, word around the league, Alec Anderson is a starting caliber offensive lineman. Like, Alec Anderson can't get on the field right now. I'm telling you this, there's teams around the league that Alec Anderson could go be a starter on right now. He might be a future Bills starter. I mean, David Edwards is in the last year of his contract. So McGovern, last year of his contract, he might be a future starter on this team. But if he's not, he's a future starter. He can't even get on the field right now because of Jackson Hawes. Not a lot anyway. And then he's kind of starting to take over that Dawson Knox role, rolling out the play action, a little bit of throwing the pass game, made that gorgeous 29-yard catch opening week. So that is a real good one. TJ Sanders, look, I want to be clear too. Neither of us are saying he's a bust. All right. It's 4 games in his rookie year. I'm sure you feel the same way. He's just off to a very disappointing start. I feel like he should be inactive right now. If Ed Oliver was healthy and Larry Ogunjobi gets back soon, you could see TJ Sanders in some street clothes on Sundays. I'm not with you on Landon Jackson, only because there's no real path right now. They love Javon Solomon on special teams, but that's going to come to an end because Michael Hoyt's going to be back soon, and special teams will start meaning a lot less when he gets back. But yeah, man, those are some real good ones too. I also added Dorian Williams to my list that I'm kind of down on. He's just, I don't know, man. Maybe I got a little recency bias. He was just really, really bad in that Saints game. Anyway, take a quick break, come back. Got a couple more Bills things to get to. And then I do want to talk some Sabres because, again, a pretty significant time going on in hockey right now as well. All right, back here with Steve Bermel, and man, pretty kind of a little bit heated feelings we got going on right now. Feeling some kind of way about Greg Rousseau. That might have been a little bit therapeutic. I'll say this: the Bills are winning, and a lot of people out there, and probably rightfully so, are like, "Relax, dude. All right, it's 4 games in. It'll be fine." Tell you what, the Bills drop a game or two where Greg Rousseau is not a factor. A lot of those people who are nice and calm right now might not be so calm all that much longer. Practice Wednesday. Again, we're recording this late Wednesday night. Matt Milano, Ed Oliver, Spencer Brown, all practice officially on a limited basis. Jackson Oz was limited too with an ankle, by the way. That came up after practice. I don't know if you saw any clips on Wednesday from various media people here. I did. And from the clips I saw, it looked like Matt Milano looks really good. Like he did. He was hitting tackling dummies full speed. I don't think you're doing that if your pec's not right. So, I hate to speculate, especially this early in the week, but it looks like he's trending in the right way. Saw a couple reps with Spencer Brown, ditto. Looked quick, moving around pretty well. I think Milano and Spencer Brown got an excellent chance to be back this Sunday. Ed Oliver, they showed him doing some drills, like some short foot stuff, and he looked okay, but you could see the left, I think it's his left ankle. There was still some limp to him. I think he still might be a week, maybe a couple weeks away. Dorian Williams didn't practice at all. Leg injury, suffered late in that game on Sunday. I don't know. What do you think right now with these guys coming back? Obviously, Milano and Spencer Brown would be big boosts to those respective units.
I think the best news was that none of these guys went to IR. Knowing that none of them went to IR meant that they all were probably, not severely injured and were going to make a comeback faster, than the 4 weeks or whatever. So that was encouraging. You kind of felt this way from the jump, I guess. I didn't know if, all of them were going to be back for this week, but, it's funny because Patriots fans and some people are kind of starting to give the Patriots a lot of credit. I think more credit than they deserve. When I think back to the times that the Patriots have beat the Bills recently, it's been in really weird fashion, like the Hurricane game and whatever. I'm not afraid to play the Patriots on Sunday, but when you said having Milano and Spencer Brown back would be a big boost, especially Milano. I don't want to be mad at Vandermark the way that he played on Sunday. He looked like he had a pie in his face a couple of times, but like when he pulled on that one play, he trips over Osiris Torrance, so he ends up out of position. Just stupid shit like that happened, and it's hard because if it was Spencer Brown, you'd be like, oh, it was just a fluke. He made a bad play. But because it was in his one chance to shine and he made a couple of 2 or 3 plays where he had some egg on his face, even when it wasn't his fault. But I mean, I don't know that people know or realize Spencer Brown, for his size, scored like a 10 on the athleticism scale. It's one of the reasons they drafted him. Like, the dude is a freak. He has things that you cannot teach that make him a bear at right tackle, that it's hard to fill that role. And honestly, Pat, couldn't even tell you anything about New England's pass rush or what they'd have to worry about coming from, at that right tackle position. But you talked about, interestingly enough, the continuity of the offensive line when I was on last week. And now they play one game without Spencer Brown. And you do notice a bit of a difference. Like, Allen got sacked a couple of times. I'd be lying if I wasn't thinking, look at this Bills offensive line giving up some sacks and some pressures the week after I was pushing back on how good the line was, because I didn't think
they still are.
Game. Yeah, I don't think it was their best game on Sunday, though.
I agree.
Was supposed to be a crappy New Orleans team. They kind of gave up more pressure, and I don't know. But Milano, I want to get to him. I think that the healthy Matt Milano covers up so many things. Like, I'm trying to think of on how many scrambles where Rattler made someone miss that Milano wouldn't have missed.
Multiple,
I don't know.
Multiple times. Dorian Williams, multiple times.
Yeah.
Dorian Williams.
Because Milano's so quick to read the play and get in position, and it's not even fast. He's got a quickness to him. He's mentally quick, and then he's physically gifted enough to get there. And I just feel like so many of these scrambles and stuff like that, I just would rather have Matt Milano back there than Dorian Williams or Shaq Thompson. I just think that having Milano back there, it's your best asset at that position. It truly is. And it sucks that he's never around because availability is the best ability. But when he's healthy, he's your best asset at that position. And I feel like there's 2 or 3 plays on Sunday that if Milano was on the field would have been a better outcome for the Bills. And I'd say there's probably 1 or 2 plays that if Spencer Brown was at right tackle would have been a better outcome for the Bills. So the talent gap is there between a backup and a starter as it should be. And Oliver, of course, Oliver's a game wrecker, and he would be the biggest guy to have back, but you can't really. It seems like you're saying he's the furthest from coming back. So
if I was, and again, we're recording this Wednesday, Sunday night is a long time away. We've all had sore ankles and woken up the next day and it's like, wow, this doesn't really hurt anymore. Shit happens like that. And these guys are professionals.
A lot longer now than it used to, Pat.
Sure. Oh yeah. Of course it does. Of course it does. When you said Ryan Vandermark, by the way, you triggered me because earlier when I was talking about how there's guys where you go back and you watch, he maybe more than anyone else, I was like, this dude sucked. He did not suck. He had a couple bad pass pro reps, but man, he looked really good in the run game. He looked really, really good in the run game. Brandon Thorne, who was an OL guru, put together like about 7 or 8 clips of him highlighting him in the run game, and he played really well. But if I was going to make a FanDuel parlay right now, I would bet on Milano playing. I think I would bet on Brown playing, and I think I would bet that Ed Oliver misses. I think if they could go back a month, I think they would have put Ed Oliver on IR. I think that his injury has lingered a little bit longer, and it was just a little bit more than what they originally anticipated. Although the way that position is right now, nothing would have changed. Yeah. Nothing would have changed because you know what? You bring up, well, Jordan Phillips wasn't ready a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So you bring up Zion Log, right? Let's say you sign him to the active roster now instead of elevating him 2 weeks like they did. And let's say Zion Log does some pretty good things. Now you got to cut him so you can hope to get him on his practice squad. But now he's put out some good tape around the league. Maybe he doesn't get past waivers because he would have gotten waived. He would have had to clear. Yep. So maybe if if you brought him up, so maybe it's a good thing that even if Ed misses his 4th game, it still might be a good thing that they didn't end up putting him on IR. I'd like to see him back, of course. I mean, this is a divisional game. This is a game where, let's just be honest here. If the Bills win this game and they go 5-0 and they beat the Patriots and they're 3-0 against the AFC East, the AFC East is over before we get to second week of October, man. Isn't that wild?
I jokingly asked you if the Bills had won the division last week, because it feels like they already have. Miami's celebrating their Super Bowl having beaten the Jets, because they won a game and, divisional game and whatnot. Yeah, and as much as I might agree with you with Oliver, this is where the Bills are really good, in my opinion, Pat. They know this stuff with the roster moves and who to elevate from the practice squad, how to leverage injured reserve, and they've really not goofed up with those type of personnel decisions over the years, and they've got so much depth. In other teams, when a guy like Oliver goes down, it would have to be Zion Logue. They wouldn't have a choice. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have 4 guys in the wings that are capable of stepping in and playing. And as much as we're maybe criticizing TJ Sanders or Deion Walker, he said he wasn't great outside of a couple of splash plays. These guys are still playing on a team that's 4-0 and that the defense isn't getting gashed and they are scoring 30 points a game on offense. So I trust the front office pretty much inherently all around. But when it comes to injuries and the way they manage them, I think they've got a pretty good track record, getting guys back when they're actually healthy, not rushing them back, and then having enough depth to say, you know what, take another week. We'll find a way without you.
Listen, a couple comments too before we move on. John Sanders in the chat said, can another team just sign Logue off the practice squad right now? Yes, they can. I mean, the Bills would have an opportunity to sign him themselves. My point is if he's up and he's playing well, and then you try to cut him after, he's definitely going to get claimed. So, but I mean, he could, yes. And then someone else, Mike Carlito called me out. He's not wrong. Mike's right. He calls me out. He says, Pat wanted to bench Milano for Dorian Williams a week ago. I don't know that I would go quite that far. I did say that, I kind of did say it now that I think about it. I was like, I think, know what? I was like, Dorian Williams, the way he's playing, his speed, athleticism, the physicality that he's bringing, I'm ready to see him. Look, on tape, last point, Dorian Williams just didn't. It was I got to be careful because I like Dorian Williams, and I do think he is a, old school thumpers and linebackers.
Yep.
That's who he is, but he's a more athletic. He's like Brandon Spikes. former middle linebacker, but more athletic too. You know what I mean? But boy, oh boy, he's not great in pass coverage. He whiffs on a lot of tackles. He over pursues a lot. He misses assignments that you could see. The gap integrity sometimes is a fundamental part of it. And he's in year 3 now. It's just not there. He relies a lot on his physical gifts, which sometimes look great and other times they don't. Last Bills thing real quick here. Not really about a player or anything, just your own personal preference. I don't know if you saw, I know you've seen the uniforms because it's rivalry week. The Bills will be wearing the white jerseys. Do you see the helmets today? Those are kind of dope, man. I don't know if you saw them. I should have pulled up a picture to put up on the screen for the video people, but this uniform's, I'm not a uniform guy at all, but that's a good look, dude. They're gonna look good Sunday night.
Listen, I love Game of Thrones when they had the winters coming and Josh
Yes.
with blue eyes. I was excited. I think what hurts the uniforms for me is how much they look like the Cowboys or the Lions or UB, the Bulls. Like the uniforms, when I see them, they remind me of the Cowboys whites that they wear all the time or the Lions whites that they wear. And that's where I'm disappointed. I know that like white jerseys can be kind of fresh and whatever, but I'm more in the camp of I want red helmets back more so than I want an all white iced out jersey. So I don't hate them. I just don't love them either. I don't have like the appeal that like, oh my gosh, these are awesome. I have to buy one. And I think it's in large part because if you were to show me that jersey at a glance and say, what team does that belong to? I would say Dallas or Detroit before I ever said Buffalo. Like if you had the Bills blue, that they wear now or that they wore in the 90s, and you held up that jersey, it would take my brain 3 seconds to guess that was the Buffalo Bills, or the red helmet. So, I don't. I think it was snow in early October.
I tell you this, John Sanders said that in a live chat. Did he think it would snow in early October? I would have preferred that they waited until late in the season where there was snow. But that said, if it is snowing and there is snow, maybe that could have been harder for the Bills to run the offense. You know what I mean? With the all whites.
Yeah, look at the snow game against Indy when they were wearing the reds. That was perfect. When they were wearing the reds when the Sean McCoy the touchdown run on OT, that was perfect. Having the bright red jerseys against the snow. So I don't hate them, Pat. But they don't move the needle for me either. Like even you saying, "Oh man, those helmets look dope." I'm like, I don't need to rush out and spend fucking $200 buying a jersey.
Oh no. But I did spend $100 buying the hoodie. I do have the rivalry week hoodie, so I can't talk too much shit. Let's switch gears here for the final whatever amount of minutes that we got left here. The Buffalo Sabres play next week. Why do I feel like I still, after 7.5 years, have to always have this disclaimer? This is talking Buffalo, not talking Buffalo Bills. So we do talk about other things beyond the Bills. The Sabres regular season starts like literally now in a week, and their last preseason home game, they still play Pittsburgh Friday night in Pittsburgh to wrap up the preseason. They just got done literally. We went on live on the video saw right after this game. I don't know. What was the final score? 5-3, I think, maybe? I don't know. 5-3, all right, with the empty net goal. Who cares? I don't give a shit. It's just like NFL preseason. The score means nothing. That's not what we're looking for. However, the big story, I had some good stuff, and we will get to it, but there's 2 big things to come out of here. One for sure, and that's UPL got hurt again. He re-aggravated a lower body injury, which we don't know what that lower body injury is, but it's kept him out. There was a concern that he wouldn't be ready to start the season not too long ago, trying to get in that work. He got hurt again. So that is definitely the big story. Let's say, for the sake of discussion, this is hockey, so I'm always trying to use hockey terminology, a week-to-week injury, and he misses a handful of weeks at least. Alex Lyon is obviously up in Buffalo. Who's going to be that number 2? Is it going to be Devon Levi? Is it going to be the guy whose last name I absolutely refuse to learn how to pronounce properly? I keep butchering it. I keep calling him, to me, he's always going to be George Ev. He's George Ev to me. Although
Georgiev.
It's Georgiev. Well, he sucks. That's who he is, all right? Let me tell you something. God's the honest truth. I am not joking with you, okay? I said I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I really don't care to. But here's what I did do tonight after UPL got hurt. And I know he's been on with the Sabres, signed him weeks ago. I know that. He's been in camp. He's played already a little bit in the preseason. This is what I did. During the game, I copied and pasted his last name. I put on YouTube. I copied and pasted it, and I hit enter for search. Literally, and I mean literally, the first video that comes up says he's the worst goaltender in the National Hockey League. That's the first video. I swear to God, I'm not even trying to be funny here. There's no comedic attempts. That literally was the first thing that I put up and that I saw. In fact, where is it, man? I'm not joking here. Hold on. Before I even get back to you, I just can't help myself.
You think we don't believe you?
Huh? I want to see what it said.
You?
It said, all right, yeah. So I put his name and it says the worst goalie in the NHL, Alexander, whatever the hell his name is.
George.
Yeah, you keep saying it. I'm going to get a sound effect, and because I can never say his name, I'm just going to hit the button every time I say his name, so that I'll eventually say it right. But anyway, I guess my question for you is this dude sticking around? Or is Levi going to be the one who's backing up Lyon? Because, you know, you want to get him minutes, too. That's part of the reason why you'd want him in Rochester. How does this play out if UPL is going to be out for a while?
Yeah, well, so first off, Georgiev, when he was in Colorado, was going to be like a guy. He was in with the Rangers and was good. And when Colorado signed him, I think they kind of signed him to be the starter, and it never worked out. He did not take advantage of the opportunity he was given. I'm going to push back on you, Pat, and say if you're mad about the fucking third-string goalie not being good, he's only here because UPL is hurt. So
right.
And I understand what you're saying, like that is not good, but he's literally a warm body to have on the roster.
Is he right now, though?
Yeah.
If UPL's out 2 months, let's just say UPL's out for 8 weeks, is he's still just a warm body?
You ride Lyon to oblivion. And then if you need Georgiev to play a game or two, so be it. And then maybe you give Levi a couple spot starts, get him up to 90 to play, to get some spot starts in. That's fine. But you have to. I think the plan is to have Levi marinate. You have UPL on the contract. Levi's still kind of had his best year yet in the regular season in the AHL. Wasn't very good in the postseason, but I think Levi is going to turn that page maybe next year. So I think Georgiev is a buffer to keep Levi down in Rochester. Even if they do bring him up for some spot starts, that still means Levi doesn't have to be here backing up every night. And it could be a situation where Lyon plays, and then in a game where they want to give Lyon rest, they scratch Georgiev and bring Levi up. But you're going to have two bodies that you don't have to. You're not keeping Levi away from being in Rochester where he can play 3 times a week and continue to get the time. But this is going to be Lyon's net as long, he's going to get 80% of the starts. I think, Pat, when like when it's almost like with Reimer last year, when Reimer was never going to play that clip of games all season long, but in that term, the last month of the year, they let him play a lot. If UPL's week to week and they're like, look, we're going to play Lyon 8 out of 10 games. We're basically playing Lyon any game that's not a back-to-back. And we're going to give the second game of the back-to-back to Levi or to Georgiev. You're going to ride him. And yeah, maybe that's more games than you want him to play, but because it's temporary,
it is.
Just roll with it. Just roll with it.
I'm concerned about UPL. I really am.
For sure. You have to be.
I want to be a fan of his, but at the end of the day, you look at it and he's been hurt too much. And he had 2 years ago, he was really good, man, 2 years ago. He was not, I don't want to say he stunk last year. That's, a little hyperbole. He didn't stink, but he didn't play great. And Reimer outplayed him late in the season, too. That's another reason why UPL wasn't in net as much near the end of the year, because he wasn't the better goalie on the team at that time, or he wasn't playing the best out of the goalies. It's just, I don't know, it's concerning to me, and it's just such a big point because, if this show was 5 minutes old and we were doing a Sabres preview, by the way, next week, Mike Harrington from the Buffalo News is confirmed to be on.
Oh, snap.
Chris Baker, I think, is going to be on a different day. We're just waiting to figure out what day and the details when it comes to him. So I'm going to have a lot of hockey stuff next week. Of course, Sabres will get the season going. I forgot what the hell where I was even going with this. Oh,
there 5 minutes in, we had a preview.
5 minutes in, and we could spend 2.5 hours doing a Sabres preview. the line combinations, the defensive combinations, the health, the power play, the penalty kill, and all this stuff. The goaltending just means so much. And not saying you do it or not saying I do it or that we collectively do it. I just think as a fan base and as a community, content creators, media, fans, everybody, it feels like it doesn't get the attention it needs, the significance and the importance of the goaltending on this team. And I have concerns. We already talked about UPL. Ryan might be good. Is he, if UPL's injury serious, is he a 55 to 60 game good at this point of his career too? You know what I mean? If you got to count on Levi, is he up to task? And we've talked about Levi before, him becoming good is a key part of not feeling awful about the Sam Reinhart trade. Yep. We've already been down that road, but goaltending is such an important part of success. And I'm not going to say the Sabres can't rise to that challenge, but they have to prove it. There's a lot of questions. That's fair, right? With the goaltending.
They haven't made the playoffs when they did get good goaltending. You mentioned UPL 2 years ago. Allmark gave him some good time when he was here. Leonard gave him Leonard was the last goalie to post a .910 save percentage or better for the Sabres since Ryan Miller. Like, they had decent goaltending throughout the stretch. And you know what, Pat? If your goaltending is good, it matters a little bit less. If your goaltending is great, it matters a little bit more. More, because they can steal you games. If your goaltending is bad, it matters a fuck ton. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you get average goaltending, nobody's going to talk about it. It's fine. There's probably 10 teams in the league where their goalie is good enough that they win games and they get 90 points at the end of the year and make the playoffs because their goalie's good enough to get them there. Then there's probably 2 or 3 teams that have a Connor Hellebuck or Igor Shesterkin that are world beaters and steal them games night in and night out, or Ryan Miller like he used to do for Buffalo. And then there's teams that just can't get goaltending. And I feel bad putting Edmonton and Toronto in this category because they at least make the playoffs and Edmonton's been in the cup back-to-back years. But goaltending has been their only weak point, and it's what ultimately lets them down a lot of the time. So, bad goaltending becomes 90% of your problems. And it's so hard because we don't even know. So your guy that has been named the starter is injured. The guy that is probably going to be starting hasn't even played a regular season game for this team. And the guy that you want to start probably isn't ready yet. So it's the biggest question mark. And it's not a great spot to be in, man. Like you can't go into game 1 in a week and not know who's going to be between the pipes. Like it's just wild.
Right. Well, again, we're not really doing a preview show today, but I will say this too. Michael Kesselring, and I got to be careful because we don't know. Yeah. As we're recording this, we don't know. By the time people listen to this, hopefully sometime Thursday morning or early afternoon or whatever, we'll have some kind of clarification on what happened. But Michael Kesselring did not come out, and he did not play in the third period. I think it goes without saying right now. You got a unit with Matthias Samuelsson, who is week to week, to the surprise of nobody. I mean, let's just be honest there. Owen Powers day-to-day. Bo Byram, who did skate, I think, with the team on Wednesday, he's day-to-day. So day-to-day sounds...
Twitter says Kesselring day-to-day. Just aggravated an injury he's been dealing with in camp. Officially, Lindy says he's day-to-day.
Lindy Ruff said that?
Yes.
All right, okay. Well, then I'll feel a little bit better.
Yep.
That said, you got 3 defensemen. 3 of your top 4 defensemen right now are day-to-day, which normally is like, not that big of a deal. Well, guess what? The regular season is day-to-day. The regular season's coming in just a matter of days. So that's, that's kind of a big deal. But without, getting into that, this game itself, it actually, I kind of made fun of myself for watching a fucking Sabres preseason game over a Yankees-Red Sox playoff game. Something in a million years I never thought I would ever do, but I did. And I got to admit, this was a entertaining game here on Wednesday. Like, if you are a hockey fan, but you say, Sabres soccer, I'm not going to watch preseason, you missed a pretty entertaining night of hockey. The goaltending for the Sabres, especially when what's-his-name came in, wasn't great.
Yeah, I didn't like UPL's first goal he gave up either.
Yeah, UPL let in a bad goal as well. A couple penalties, like I know Doan had one that cost them. So, but there were 2 things. Number one, let me just gloss over it. You'll see it on ESPN probably. Rasmus Dahlin just went coast to coast on the power play. That was just that's the shit you see in juniors.
Yep.
Like when a kid is too good for juniors and like he's a blue chip prospect and you watch the clips, you're like, oh, this is why you want to draft this guy. That's the kind of goal that he scored tonight. It was just sick. But Josh Norris, this is what I want to ask you about, dude. So Pittsburgh scored first. They're on the power play. Josh Norris doesn't do a good enough job. He doesn't tie the guy up in front of him. I'm like, come on. Minutes later, though, he makes up for it. He's getting tripped. Krebs, who played good in this game on that top line. Anyway, gives him the pass off the boards, really nice. He's getting tripped. He gets right back up, and he scores a really pretty goal. And then later on in the game, Tage Thompson feeds him in front of the net, and bam, quick shot beats the goaltender. Josh Norris, 2 goals in this game. Man, if there's 3 things that you really need to happen for the Sabres this year, he's probably one of the top 3, isn't he? And he gave you a nice little treat or a nice little glimpse of what could be for him tonight, ain't it?
Well, we talked about this in the offseason, and I was, being the good cop, bad cop on Josh Norris, and I said, this guy, when he plays a full season, if he can do it, which he hasn't done to this point, but the guy could be a point-a-game player and score 40 goals, and you get a glimpse of that today. I think he scored on the next shift after that power play goal was scored against. Yeah, I saw Ralph Wilson Sr.'s comment. Very well played, sir.
Samuelson is week to week. By the way, you can't, on the audio side, you're like, what are you talking about? We already know that. He spelled weak as in not strong. He is W-E-A-K, week to week. That's a good one, Ralph. Yeah.
So Josh Norris was a big highlight for me today.
Yes.
The downside, I thought the penalty kill was not good. I think Pittsburgh scored 2 power play goals, and then their second goal of the night was on a delayed penalty. So in other words, it was an incoming power play anyway.
Yes.
And the Sabres have always been scrambly on the penalty kill. And I mean, Tuck is a great penalty killer, but man, like special teams are killers. And it's been such a bad run for special teams for them pretty much since they had O'Reilly and Eichel. When that power play was automatic, the special teams have been bad. And you're right, Pat, there were entertaining things about the game. And yeah, I had one eye on it and one eye on the Yankees game, but this game, I know it's preseason, but a lot of the starting players played.
Most of them did.
It feels like about how 50 of the games last year did. Sloppy in their own end. They give up a goal early. Pat, they came out flying. The shots were like 7-3. They controlled play. The play was in Pittsburgh's end. Shelovs had to make some saves early. And then as that period went on and it kind of wore down, the tide started to shift. Then the Sabres played from behind the rest of the game. And they tried to play catch up. And this was a game where like Dahlin would break his stick against the post because they give up the empty netter when they're down 4-3. And it's like, it's one that got away. And, I love the Sabres. I tend to be the positive one. But this game, I realize it's fucking preseason. But this game felt like about 50 games a year do for the Sabres, where they give up a goal early, they spend the rest of the game chasing, and they can't quite tie the game late, and the empty netter seals it, and they get 0 points against insert team here. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist about a preseason game, but I feel like you could have watched a replay of half of their games from last season and seen the exact same game script that we saw today.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll say this, defensively, and they didn't look great, but they did have most of their roster, but 3 of their 6 defensemen who should be in the lineup opening night weren't there, and Kesselring didn't play the last 20 minutes. So by, last 20 minutes, it's 4 or 6. It's 2/3 of them. Offensively, though, Benson was the only forward who you're going to see on opening night that was out. Now, Greenway's still a little bit away. I don't think he's going to be back for opening night. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me.
Play?
Yeah. Whatever.
Did Tuck play? Did Tuck play?
Yes.
Okay.
Were you being sarcastic?
No.
Oh,
no.
You didn't notice him.
No.
All right, that's funny. I thought sometimes I was like, are we going down this Greg Rousseau road right now?
No.
He played with McLeod and Zucker on a line, and then Kulik skated with Doan and Quinn. Did Quinn play?
Quinn played, yes.
Okay, we'll see.
We're doing this together because we don't have it figured out on our own.
I honestly did not notice that Quinn and Krebs played up again on the front line with Tage and with Norris, and he played well. Krebs might be that guy this year. He'll be your 4th line center. But he also, if somebody gets hurt, he'll play that second line, that first line, wherever, and you can plug him in, and that's what we'll do. Last question, and then we're going to bounce. So about a week or so from now, the Sabres will have a regular season game in them. Alex Tuch, big, kind of offseason story. We're getting close days now away from the start of the season. There's been reports that they weren't close on a contract and that Tuck might want $10 million or so a year. Do you think, with all taking everything into consideration, do you think, let's just say we're talking now on the eve of opening night here, do the Sabres get a deal done with Alex Tuck, or does he go into the season entering what would be his last year of his contract?
I think if he was going to get a deal signed, it would have happened already. So I am pessimistic on that happening before the season. Now, I don't know what that means for, a mid-season contract extension, but I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. The other factor in this, Pat, is Kirill Kaprizov just completely turned the market on its head.
Yeah.
He turned down the biggest contract in league history to only turn around and sign the biggest contract, I think, in league history at 8 years, $17 million a year. And it's interesting because I was talking to my best friend yesterday and about this, and it's like, okay, if Kaprizov is worth 17, Eichel is worth 18 or 19, I think. Kaprizov hasn't even played a full season, let alone helped the team win a Stanley Cup. And Eichel could have won the Conn Smythe the year that the Knights won the Cup.
Sure.
And that means McDavid is worth 25. I mean, I don't know that these guys are going to get that, but with the salary cap going up to 103 and 113 in the next 2 years or whatever it is, Kaprizov was the first one to push the market in that direction. And now Jack Hughes signs for $9 million a year, which seems low, because if Kaprizov's getting 17, Jack Hughes, you would think probably closer to 12 or 13, in my opinion. All that to say, Tuck's agent is going to be like, oh, well, that price just went up, because Kaprizov's a great goal scorer, and goal scorers get paid. But all-around hockey player, give me Tuck over Kaprizov. And I'm not being a homer. I think that's objective. Tuck led the league in block shots. He's a great penalty killer. He's great on the power play. He plays two ways. He can score. He gets assists. He's kind of the glue guy. I don't know. I think on an all-around hockey player, I would rather have Tuck than Kaprizov. If that makes me a homer, so be it. But I think that Kaprizov is yet to even play 82 games, it feels like. Everyone's like, oh, man, he's getting paid $17 million a year for 8 years, and he's not even going to play half the time. And you also can't forget that that contract doesn't take effect for another year, and he's 28 years old. So in 8 years when he's 37, or 9 years when he's 37 years old, they're going to owe him $17 million. But I'm curious to see what Kaprizov does to the market, more so with Eichel and McDavid, but I think we'd be foolish to ignore that's going to affect what Tuck gets paid.
One last follow-up here. Let's say you're right. The deal doesn't get done before the season. I kind of feel like it's not a deadline. The start of the regular season is not like any kind of official deadline, but
I think the trade
in some ways, it could be an unofficial kind of feeling like that. Like if it doesn't happen before the season, we might not talk for a while. It might be a hot minute before we talk. They'll say they're going to continue to talk, but sometimes actions spur, or words, or deadlines spur actions, I meant to say. Maybe something does get done right before the season starts, literally 24 hours before. It could happen. But let's just assume it doesn't. I know you're going to say it's a combination of both. But if you're going to divvy up the percentage and you got 100% and you could divvy it up any way you want, what percentage would you say a deal doesn't get done because either A, the Sabres don't want to pay whatever, let's just say that number is 10, or maybe even it's a little north of 10.
Yeah.
And the Sabres say, you know what, we're not going to pay this guy this much money, his age, whatever shit they come up with to say we're not going to do that. What percentage is that? And what percentage of Alex Tuck is it Alex Tuck saying, well, you know what? You are offering me what I want financially, but I still don't know that I want to commit to 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever is going to be long-term. I would like to see where the direction of this team is over the next couple months. I want to see where I feel the direction of this team is going before I put my name on that contract. So what percentage is the Sabres aren't paying him, they won't pay him, and what percentage is Alex Tuck saying, yeah, I don't care what you're going to pay me. I want to see how things are playing out.
I think the trade deadline is the deadline, because that's going to determine, right?
100%.
If he's going to be a free agent, it's got to be the trade deadline. And the trade deadline spurs action. Percentage, 99% Tuck. I mean, he holds all the cards, Pat.
I know. Yeah.
Every single card in the deck is in his hands. And, the reality is Tuck can say, I want 15 a year. And the Sabres have two choices, pay it or not. They don't have, I don't know what bargaining power the Sabres have with Alex Tuck. He's a local guy. He's a great player, and he, if he wants to be here, but ultimately, I think to keep him here, they have to give him a blank check, and that might be right. I don't know. I don't think the Sabres are unwilling to pay him, though. I think it's probably Tuck's decision to make. They might even say to him, "Look, name your number," and he might just say, "I don't have one right now. I don't know." You know what I mean? I just feel like it's hard because I don't know that the Sabres have many cards in this situation, if any at all. So if you're making me pick, I'd say 99% Alex Tuck setting his terms.
I'll say this too as we close. Objectivity, I'll throw out the window a little bit. This is me being a fan, a Sabres fan. And if this team plays bad and Alex Tuck doesn't want to sign, and it comes out that Alex Tuck doesn't want to be part of the long term of this organization, that would be one of the biggest black eyes and indictments on the Buffalo Sabres that I've seen in a very long time, because A, he's a great player. He's a great two-way player. He's a good leader. He's the right guy to have in the locker room. He's the right guy to have in front of a microphone. He's the right guy to have out in the community. He's the right everything, and he's from here, and he's a fan, or from the area, the region. He's a fan, and he legitimately, authentically wants to win with the Buffalo Sabres. And if it ends up that he does not sign, whether the Sabres just wouldn't pay him what he thinks he's worth, whether he's worth it or not, the Sabres wouldn't pay him, or he just says, you know what, this ship is it's going nowhere, man, and I want out. If that happens, and I hope it does not happen as 100%. A fan, that's damning, isn't it? That's a domino that if that domino falls, lots of other big ones potentially could as well, ain't it?
That could be the stemming of another rebuild. And I don't want it. I am afraid of that. Like, sure. I love this team, Pat. It's not, I'm not out here hoping it crashes and burns. I'm not out here wishing ill on, the team or the management. Like, I love this team. And if Tuck leaves and it's, not an amicable departure, it feels like this is going to be rebuild 4.0. It's going to, that could be the first domino to fall and tearing down to the studs again. And God, I hope not. I want Tuck to be here. I want this team to be good. Like, I just want it to be good, and I want Tuck to be here for the rest of his career. So, yeah, you're 100% right. And, we cross our fingers and toes that that's not the route it takes.
I don't know how you lose a lot of fans for good. I think if that happens, I think you permanently lose some fans if that happens. Hopefully it doesn't. Anyway, we'll start to find out soon enough. That's for sure. Make sure you follow Steve on Twitter at Steve Bermel. Steve will be a regular on this show, especially throughout hockey season and in the Bandits season as well, because I am going to talk about the Bandits, especially now that you're on the show with me. It'll be a lot easier for you to carry those shows. But I'm going to get to some games. We're going to have some fun with the 3-time defending champion Bandits as well. Appreciate everybody, as always, on the video side. If you pop by live, if you have not yet subscribed to the show, audio, video, make sure that you do. It really helps us continue to grow. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks for the time. Thanks for having me, Pat. Great conversation. Go Bills.
All right, guys, I'll be back. One more show for the week tomorrow. Bills Patriots preview. We'll talk about both teams, 3 keys to a Bills victory, 5 bowl predictions, and ultimately a final score pick. Talk to you guys tomorrow.